The awakening of Terra. The Emperor's response came within hours of Admiral Rezka's report. It was not retreat he ordered, but total mobilization. The entire Zorvax Empire, every ship, every weapon, every warrior, would converge on the barrier. If humanity existed, if they truly possessed such power, then they were either the greatest threat or the greatest prize the Empire had ever encountered. Fear is the enemy of progress, the Emperor declared to his assembled forces. These humans want us to believe they are gods. But gods don't hide, gods don't build walls. They are afraid of us, afraid of what we've become in their absence. From every corner of the Empire, ships gathered. The Grand Armada assembled, 10,000 vessels, carrying 300 billion Zorvax. It was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. The Emperor himself came aboard his personal dreadnought, the Galactic Throne, a ship so vast it had its own weather systems. But as the Armada approached the barrier, they found something had changed. The wall was no longer invisible to the naked eye. It glowed now, a soft golden light that pulsed with increasing frequency, and there were shapes within it, shadows of impossible things, glimpses of structures that hurt to perceive. Admiral Rezka, still commanding her fleet at the barrier's edge, sent an urgent message. Your Majesty, the wall is reacting to our numbers. The energy readings are exponentially increasing. Whatever's behind it knows we're here. The Emperor's response was predictable. Then let them know we're not afraid. All ships, form attack pattern Omega. We break through together. As the Armada moved into position, new text appeared in space. But this time it wasn't in Zorvax script. It was in thousands of languages simultaneously. Every language of every species the Empire had conquered, had destroyed, had absorbed. The message was simple. Final warning. The Emperor laughed. Warnings are for the weak. All ships, fire. 10,000 ships discharge their weapons simultaneously. Planet crackers, antimatter bombs, singularity generators, quantum torpedoes. Enough firepower to destroy a solar system struck the barrier at once. The explosion should have been visible from half the galaxy away. Instead, the weapon's energy simply dissolved into the wall, absorbed like water into sand. The barrier didn't even flicker. But something else happened. Deep within the golden glow, shapes began to solidify. Ships were emerging from the wall, but ships unlike anything the Zorvax had ever conceived. They weren't made of metal or composite materials. They appeared to be constructed from solidified space itself, their hulls bending light and time around them. Some were small, no larger than fighters, but they moved with impossible grace, appearing and disappearing at will. Others were vast, dwarfing even the Galactic Throne, their surfaces covered in geometric patterns that shifted and changed like living things. And then the humans appeared. Not in ships, but standing in the void itself, protected by nothing but suits that seemed to be made of starlight. They were tall, taller than the stories had suggested, and their faces were calm, almost sad. One of them, apparently their leader, approached the Galactic Throne. He stopped just outside the ship's shields and spoke, his voice carrying impossibly, through the vacuum. I am Marcus Chen, speaker for the sleeping Earth. You have been warned 3 times as our laws require. You have ignored each warning. Now by the ancient codes we must respond. The Emperor's voice boomed from his ship. You are outnumbered 10,000 to 1. Surrender your technology, submit to the Empire, and we may show mercy. Marcus Chen smiled, and it was the saddest expression the Zorvax had ever seen. You still don't understand. We don't need numbers. We don't need ships. We transcended such things long ago. Let me show you. He raised his hand, and every Zorvax ship's engine died simultaneously. Not damaged, not destroyed, simply switched, off as if they had never existed. The Armada hung helpless in space. 12 million years ago, Marcus continued, his voice now echoing in every mind, humanity achieved what we called the singularity. We merged with our technology, transcended our biology, became something new. We could reshape matter with thought, travel between dimensions, create and destroy with equal ease. Images appeared in space, projections of humanity's history. Their wars, their triumphs, their transformation from flesh to something beyond flesh. We fought wars that burned galaxies. We built civilizations that spanned dimensions. We became, in every sense, what lesser species would call gods. And do you know what we learned? The Emperor found his voice. What? That power without wisdom is meaningless. That existence without purpose is hell. That forcing others to kneel is the act of the weak, not the strong. So we chose differently. We withdrew. We created this space, this bubble in reality, where we could exist without interfering, where we could explore the infinite possibilities of consciousness without imposing our will on others. More humans appeared now, thousands of them, each standing calmly in space. Some looked young, others ancient, but all had the same serene, slightly melancholic expression. "We've watched the galaxy turn," another human said, a woman whose voice carried the weight of eons. "We've seen empires rise and fall, the Calyx hegemony, the Trillion Commonwealth, the sacred geometric order. All thought they were eternal. All are now dust. You, the Zorvax, are just the latest. In another 1,000,000 years, you too will be forgotten. Unless," Marcus added, "you choose differently." The Emperor's rage finally exploded. "We are not some primitive species to be lectured. We command the galaxy. Release our ships and face us. In honest battle." Marcus sighed. "Very well. One final demonstration then." He snapped his fingers. Every Zorvax in the Armada suddenly found themselves elsewhere. Not their ships, those remained frozen in space. But the crews, all 300 billion of them, were instantly transported to a vast chamber that couldn't possibly exist. It was a sphere of white light, large enough to hold a world, yet each individual could see and hear perfectly. In the center stood not one human, but millions, and above them, projected in the air, was Earth itself. Blue, beautiful, eternal. "This is our parliament," Marcus explained, his voice gentle despite the display of impossible power. "Every human who ever lived, ever will live, ever could live, exists here simultaneously. We experience all possible timelines, all potential realities, all variations of existence. We have become, in essence, living possibility itself." The Emperor, standing among his frozen subjects, felt fear for the first time in his 1,000-year life. "What do you want from us?" "Nothing," Marcus replied. "Absolutely nothing. That's what we've been trying to tell you. We want to be left alone, to dream our dreams, to explore our infinite inner worlds, to exist without the burden of guiding or controlling others." "But you took our people," General Torv shouted, "the crew of the Imperator's pride." "To save them," another human responded. "Your admiral was about to breach the barrier. Had he succeeded, had he entered our space uninvited, our automated defenses would have activated. Not the gentle dissolution you witnessed, but something far worse. The unmaking of your entire species from the timeline itself. You would never have existed at all." A collective gasp rose from the Zorvax billions. "We're not cruel," Marcus continued. "We remember what it was like to be young, to be ambitious, to believe the universe existed for our conquest. But we learned better. The question is, can you?" The Emperor stood silent for a long moment. Around him, his subjects waited. The greatest military force in galactic history, reduced to an audience for beings that had transcended the very concept of military force. "If we leave," the Emperor finally asked, "if we never return, what then?" "Then you continue." Marcus smiled. "You grow, you learn, you make your mistakes and achieve your triumphs. The galaxy is vast. There are millions of systems beyond our small pocket of space. Build your empire if you must, create your legacy, just leave us out of it. And if others come, other species in future millennia, then we'll have this conversation again, as we've had it 17 times before with 17 different empires. Most listened, a few didn't." His expression darkened, slightly. You won't find any record of the ones who didn't. With another gesture, the Zorvacs found themselves back on their ships. The engines hummed to life. The weapons came back online. Everything functioned perfectly, as if nothing had happened. But on every screen and every computer was a new star chart. It showed the galaxy with one small section, perhaps 300 systems, marked in red. The legend simply read, "Terra Sanctuary, do not enter." Admiral Rezka was the first to speak. "Your Majesty, what are your orders?" The Emperor looked at the chart, at his armada, at the barrier that still glowed softly before them. For the first time in Zorvac's history, an Emperor ordered a full retreat. "We leave," he said quietly, "and we never come back." As the armada turned away, the barrier began to fade back to invisibility. But just before it disappeared entirely, one final message appeared in space. "Thank you for understanding. May your species find wisdom before you find power. It's the only way to survive what you might become." The silent boundary, the quantum wall stretched across the cosmos like an invisible scar, marking the edge of what the Zorvacs Empire called the dead zone. For 3,000 years, their scanners had detected nothing beyond it. No stars, no planets, no life. Just an endless void that swallowed all light and energy. The Empire had conquered 90% of the known galaxy, but this barrier remained untouchable, unknowable, and utterly silent. Commander Vex stood on the observation deck of the reconnaissance vessel Stellar Claw, his 6 eyes fixed on the readouts. The wall was invisible to normal sight, but their quantum sensors painted it as a shimmering curtain of pure energy. Strange symbols floated within its structure, mathematical equations that hurt to look at, formulas that seemed to bend reality itself. "Sir?" His science officer chittered nervously, her mandibles clicking in the way that meant fear. "The energy signatures are unlike anything in our database. It's not just a barrier. It's alive somehow. Conscious." Vex's primary arms crossed, while his secondary ones drummed against the console. The Zorvacs had encountered many mysteries in their expansion, but nothing like this. The wall had been here longer than their oldest records, predating even their rise to sentience. Some scholars believed it was a natural phenomenon, a quirk of space-time. Others whispered darker theories. "Send the probe," Vex ordered. They launched. A military-grade scanner drone, equipped with the Empire's finest technology. It approached the wall slowly, transmitting data continuously. The moment it touched the barrier, the transmission cut. The drone didn't explode or compress, it simply ceased to exist as if it had never been built. 3 days later, Admiral Korthax arrived with the Empire's Third Fleet. Unlike Vex, who favored caution, Korthax was known for his aggressive tactics. He had conquered 17 systems through sheer force and refused to believe anything could stand against Zorvac's might. "A wall of energy?" Korthax laughed, his voice booming through the command center. "The universe is full of anomalies. We've broken through nebula storms and gravitational mazes. This is no different." Vex tried to explain the readings, the strange mathematics, the way the wall seemed to respond to their presence. But Korthax dismissed him with a wave of his primary arm. "Superstition and fear, nothing more. The Empire doesn't retreat from the unknown. We conquer it." The Admiral ordered his flagship, the Imperator's Pride, to approach the barrier. It was a massive vessel, 3 kilometers long, armed with planet cracker weapons and protected by shields that could withstand supernovas. As it drew closer, something unexpected happened. Words appeared in the void, written in perfect Zorvac script. "This is the boundary of Terra. Your kind is not welcome. Turn back." The bridge fell silent. No one had used the word Terra in millennia. It was a myth, a legend from before the Empire's rise. Stories spoke of a species that had once ruled the stars, beings of impossible power who had vanished without explanation. They were called humans, and their homeworld was Terra, Earth in their ancient tongue. Korthax's eyes narrowed. "Tricks and illusions. Someone is trying to scare us with old stories. All ships, prepare for barrier penetration. We go through." "Admiral," Vex pleaded, The mathematics in the wall, they're not random. They're coordinates, dates, warnings. This barrier was built with purpose. Then we'll discover that purpose, Korthak snarled. The Empire fears nothing. The Imperator's pride accelerated toward the wall. Its shields flared brilliant blue as they made contact with the barrier. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ship began to stretch, its hull elongating like pulled taffy. The crew's screams echoed through the communication channels as time and space twisted around them. "Pull back!" Vex shouted, but it was too late. The flagship didn't explode or implode, it unraveled. Every atom, every molecule, every quantum particle separated and dispersed into the barrier. The process took exactly 7 seconds. When it ended, the Imperator's pride was gone, along with its crew of 50,000. The remaining fleet watched in horrified silence. Then new words appeared, larger this time, visible to every ship. "You were warned. This is humanity's space. We sleep, but we remember. Cross again, and we wake." The message hung in space for exactly 1 minute before fading. In its place, a small object materialized, a data cube of unknown design. When the Zorvax retrieved and decoded it, they found something that chilled them to their cores. It contained the complete biological and personal records of every soul who had been on the Imperator's pride, down to their last thoughts. At the end was a simple message. They are safe. They are sleeping. They can be returned if you never cross again. News of the incident spread through the Empire like wildfire. The Senate convened an emergency session. Some demanded immediate retaliation, others counseled caution. The military's greatest minds studied the data cube, finding technology that shouldn't exist. Compression algorithms that violated information theory, storage methods that used dimensions the Zorvax couldn't access. The Empire's chief historian, an ancient Zorvax named Kek, brought forth texts that hadn't been read in centuries. "Terra," he said, his voice trembling with age and fear. "The stories say they were the first. Before any of us reached the stars, humans were already there. They built wonders we couldn't understand, achieved immortality through means we couldn't fathom." "Then where are they?" demanded General Torv. "If they're so powerful, why hide behind a wall?" Kek's eyes dimmed. "The texts say they grew tired of war, tired of teaching younger species, tired of watching civilizations rise and fall, so they withdrew. They built a barrier around their space and chose to sleep, to dream, to wait." "Wait for what?" someone asked. "For the universe to grow up," Kek replied, "or for someone foolish enough to wake them." The debate raged for days. The Empire had never retreated from anything, but they had also never encountered anything like this. The barrier hadn't destroyed the Imperator's pride out of malice. It had simply enforced a boundary with clinical precision. The crew was somehow still alive, suspended in some form of existence the Zorvax couldn't understand. Finally, the Emperor himself spoke. Zorvak the Eternal, ruler of 1,000 systems, conqueror of the galaxy, made a decision that would echo through history. "Send another fleet," he commanded. "Not 1 ship, but 100. If these humans exist, we will force them to reveal themselves. The Empire does not bow to ghosts." The second armada assembled at the barrier's edge. 100 warships, 2 million soldiers, the might of the Zorvax Empire made manifest. Admiral Rezka, veteran of the Spiral Wars, took command. Unlike Korthax, she was cautious, methodical. She studied the barrier for weeks, analyzing every fluctuation, every pattern. "It's not just a wall," she reported to the Emperor. "It's a membrane between realities. On our side, normal space. On the other side, something else. The mathematics suggest compressed space-time, folded dimensions, an entire region of space hidden in a pocket universe." "Can we break through?" the Emperor asked. "Not break," Rezka replied. "But perhaps we can knock." She ordered her ships to form a specific pattern, one that matched the mathematical sequences in the barrier. Then, simultaneously, they broadcast a message on every frequency. "We are the Zorvax Empire. We wish to communicate with the builders of this barrier. We come seeking knowledge, not war." For 7 hours nothing happened. Then the barrier began to pulse. like a heartbeat made of light. A section of the wall became transparent, revealing what lay beyond. The entire fleet's sensors went mad trying to process what they saw. Stars that burned with colors that didn't exist. Planets that occupied the same space but different dimensions. Ships, if they could be called ships, that were made of crystallized time and thoughts given form. And at the center of it all, a blue world that somehow seemed ancient and newborn simultaneously. Earth. Terra. The birthplace of humanity. A voice spoke then, not through their communication systems, but directly into the mind of every Zorvax, in the fleet. It was soft, tired, infinitely patient. We asked for solitude. We built this barrier not to challenge you, but to protect you. From us, from what we became, from what we could do if awakened to anger. Images flooded their minds. Humans as they once were, fragile, short-lived beings struggling on a single world. Then their expansion, their growth, their transcendence. They showed the Zorvax glimpses of technologies that manipulated reality itself, weapons that could unmake the laws of physics, achievements that turned matter into consciousness and back again. We could have ruled, the voice continued. We could have been gods. Instead, we chose to step aside to let younger species have their time in the light. All we asked was to be left alone. Admiral Rezka found her voice. The ship you took, the Imperator's Pride, its crew, are they truly safe? They sleep as we sleep. No harm has come to them. They dream good dreams, experience lives they never lived, explore possibilities they never imagined. If you leave now, never to return, they will be released at a border, point of your choosing, but if you persist, the voice trailed off, but the threat was clear. The crew of the Imperator's Pride was returned as promised, materializing at a frontier station with no memory of their time beyond the barrier, only vague dreams of impossible places and infinite peace. The Empire classified all records of the Mo encounter, but rumors spread anyway. A region of space where humanity slept, dreaming dreams that could reshape reality. The Zorvax Empire continued for another 3,000 years before eventually fragmenting into smaller, more enlightened civilizations. But they never forgot the lesson of the barrier. In their schools, their children learned a new principle. True strength is not in conquest, but in knowing when not to conquer. And in the quiet pocket of space behind the quantum wall, humanity continued to sleep, to dream, to explore the infinite possibilities of existence. They had won the ultimate victory, not through war but through the simple act of stepping aside and saying no more. The barrier remains to this day, invisible, patient, eternal. And sometimes when young species achieve spaceflight and begin to explore, they find the ancient beacons that still broadcast in every language the same simple message. This is the boundary of Terra. Please respect our solitude. The galaxy is vast enough for all. Most listen. And for those who don't, well, humanity can always wake up, just a little, just enough. The universe learned to let sleeping gods lie.